Hello, Globebusters. Yes, of course they're serious. You do? You have? No kidding. Uh-huh. Oh, they'll cure your globitis this week. Thank you. We got one!
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's the Globebusters.
What are you supposed to be, some kind of a cosmonaut?
No, we're exterminators.
And now, here's your host.
And welcome everybody to Globebusters, Common Flat Earth Questions Addressed. I'm your host, Bob Xanadude60, and here we are with another Sunday show for you. And going to do something new today that we haven't really done before. And I was kind of thinking about this. I've thought about this a few times doing this because honestly, even though some of the questions that come into, your comment sections seem kind of inane, I guess some of them are actually not trolling. Some people may actually, legitimately want to know these questions, right? So taking them at face value, even though I have to wonder about the list of questions I'm going to address today that came from, it was actually put on the video from the one where we exposed the trolls, Simon Dan and everybody, where they were setting up Wolfie's brother-in-law to send in fake emails to Ben and all that stuff. So I've been getting completely blasted out and inundated with trolls by that. And that's where these comments came from. But so he took the time to write down 48 questions, and although, some of them are kind of inane and ridiculous, some of them are actually worth answering. So I figured we would just do that and have a little bit of fun with it. So in addition to that, we also have Karen B, who is going to be giving us a Flattoberfest promo, sort of a promo, and I guess a Flattoberfest update here shortly. And you guys know that's coming up the 23rd, I believe, of October. That's going to be a lot of fun, but I'll let her fill you in on those details. And other than that, got a few other things to cover today, but hopefully you will, be able to join us for the entire show. And guys, if you have not signed up on Rockfin yet, there is a link in the show description of where you can sign up at Rockfin. And that way you'll be able to see the entire show. And if you can't, if finances just aren't there, understood. And that's why we do the Wednesday shows for everybody as well. So you guys actually kind of, made out like bandits, because now you're getting 2 Globebuster shows a week. And it also helps us out as well. So we really appreciate your help. And, lots of good people are now coming over to Rockfin. In fact, I couldn't believe it. I was just talking to Hibbler, Sean Hibbler Productions, and he is now on Rockfin, which is really cool. So, all right, so let's go ahead and introduce the panel for today. First up, as always, Jeran from Jeranism. How you doing today, Jeran?
What up, Bob? Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me, and happy to be here. So yeah, It's exciting. Rockfin seems like it's going well for everybody. And did Hibbler say if ODD is coming for sure?
ODD is already on there.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
Yep. I don't know if he's got any content uploaded yet, but his channel is created and he is on there. So
sweet.
Now for the long journey of migrating all the stuff. And as I understand it, I don't know who told me this. Maybe it was you guys or maybe it was Dave, but he was talking about doing a podcast on Rockfin.
Yeah, I think he's going to do, remember he used to do, he called it the Oddcast. I don't know, he used to do it once a week or something.
Oh yeah, a long time
back
ago.
In the old days of YouTube when you could say things. But yeah, so he's going to start doing that over on Rockfin. And yeah, more will come out too, but I've went ahead and gone with them as far as being exclusive with Rockfin as well. So that's a decision that was made this week. So I'll be kind of migrating a little bit away from Patreon. Well, a little bit. I'm going to still keep it for the crypto classes, but as far as for the content, the Friday show, the Baby Truther show, all that stuff, it's going to be Rockfin exclusive. So excited.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. I'm sure it'll do really well there. One of the things that I have to say, and this really kind of bums me out, and I've heard it so many times, people will say, oh, well, these guys have, now we have to pay for the truth. And it's just, it's, and they get, kind of butthurt about it. And it's like, I don't know exactly what I can do to, alleviate that butthurtness, but, we did add a second show that is free for everybody. And, you actually literally have twice the content every week of Globebusters that anybody had before. And it gives us an opportunity to earn a little bit of money, which is really, really nice. Not to mention the fact that we get the free speech platform that we can actually talk on. And, I just don't understand why people would be so against that, because you know what, even if we do a stream on Rockfin, it doesn't necessarily have to be a monetized stream. We can make that stream free. And the good news is we can say whatever the hell we want to over there. Right. So I don't know. It just, some things I guess you just can't win. Right.
No, you'll never win this one. And again, it's something that I think is social conditioning. They've done a beautiful job of convincing people that the truth should be free. And it's, I was in that. I mean, they fooled me as far as that goes too, because for a while I was saying the same thing, that it doesn't make any sense. Truth should be free. But really, when you break it down, truth is the most valuable thing that there is. So again, this is another thing that they've flipped on their head, whereas truth is the most valuable thing. And they spend billions a day, really, on pumping out lies and keeping the lies going. And so, of course, what do you want to teach people other than truth should be free? So anybody coming along speaking the truth who might need some financial, reimbursements, is not going to be given that. And it's just another trick by the elite to keep themselves where they're at, because they've got all the money in the world. They print it. So they can employ whoever they want, and anybody who gets out of control, they can come and buy out or buy off or pay off. And it leaves a very small group of people able to exist and still speak the truth and have an audience that wants to listen. And for $10 a month, look at everything you get. I don't think that, it kind of falls on deaf ears for me if people, we're not talking about huge amounts of money here a month, $10 a month. And that's for everything that's at Rockfin. So,
yes, which is, the greater and greater amount of the Flat Earth community. Karen B, in fact, is on there. Brian Staveley is on there. You're on there. Secrets of Saturn is on there. Crow 777 is on there. Rose 777 is on there. As I mentioned earlier, Sean Hibbler is now on there. ODD is on there. And it's like, pretty. And so when you look at that $9.99 a month, you're talking about all those content creators that you get, and then all the other great guys too that were on there in the first place. So it really is a great place to be. And really, when you look at it as far as paid platforms, it versus somebody doing a simple podcast, where you get one podcast, economically, it makes a lot more sense. You get much more bang for your buck, so.
Right.
Just makes sense to me.
Yeah, me too. There's no ads. I mean, I love no ads. I mean, go to Rockfin right now. There's not an ad anywhere when I say no ads. It's not like little tiny ads show up at the bottom of the videos or every 10 minutes like on YouTube or all over the sidebars. And if I go search headphones yesterday, then I've got to see headphones for the next week all over YouTube. This is completely different. You don't see any of that.
Yep, absolutely. So anyway, if you can, guys, join us over there, and that would be awesome. And if not, there's always the Wednesday night shows as well. So cool. All right. So let's go ahead and move forward. Next up, we have with us from Witsit Gets It, Austin Witsit. Austin, brother, you are killing it at Times Square in New York.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, bro. You'd be surprised how many people are actually pretty receptive. How's everyone doing?
What's up, Austin?
Chilling.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, here you are out there, and it seemed like you had some hecklers, but not too many. Of course, you didn't really seem to get many challenges. People didn't want to take you on as far as your $100 challenge. And, that should speak volumes to a lot of people that, they're defending something that they really have no idea anything about. So
Yeah, it's hilarious. And what's really funny, man, is towards the end, I had somebody come up and get the answers right, and so I gave him $100, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm just trolling you, man. I'm actually a flat earther. I watch your videos."
oh man.
Yeah, so I'm like, look, only the flat earthers know the answers. This should be a red pill to you guys.
Yeah, big time. I didn't see that part. Of course, I had last part of it muted, but yeah, boy, Times Square looks crazy. It hasn't changed much since I was there last, which was, more than 20 years ago. But is New York, people are saying that New York seems to be a lot less populated these days than it used to be. Have you seen any indication of that?
Well, I'll chill with Eli, who's from here. He said it's just now getting to where it kind of looks normal, but it's not as packed as it normally is. I don't know. I mean, we went out last night, which was, of course, a Saturday night, but there were people everywhere. So I hear it's like just now getting to where there's a few more people, but I don't know. Most of them are walking around scared of the air. And so, yeah, I don't really know. I don't have a litmus test, but the guy that lives here says that it still hasn't gotten back to the way it normally is. So,
yeah, that's weird. Of course, their government there is just nuttier than fruitcakes, man. That is the last state I would want to live in. Yikes. It's bad.
Dude, there's propaganda about this PSYOP going on everywhere you look, like all over the billboards, all over the screens. If you go in a restaurant, there are TVs playing it. There are like, free genetic modification here, come here. Like everywhere you turn, it's been hands down the worst out of all the places we've been.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, not surprising though. Like I said, what do you, and it's interesting how the different states are handling it too. And, like I said, I could not be happier with the way that South Carolina is handling it, and the government here in general. They've been pretty epic. It's the first time I've actually had anything positive to say about any government. So, that in and of itself should say something. So, all right. So let's go ahead and move on. We also have with us today, John the Morgile. How you doing today, John?
Hey, Bob. Hey, everybody. Doing good. Thanks for having me. Good to be here. I think we'll have a good show today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we do too. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. And last but certainly not least, and boy, I should be slapped because where are my manners? It should have been ladies first, but I blew it. So I'm sorry, Karen. But we have with us Miss Karen B. How you doing today, Karen?
I'm doing great, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, the reason that you are on today, or at least one of the reasons, is to kind of talk about your upcoming event that is coming up in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And you want to go ahead and tell people about that?
Yes, it is Flattoberfest 2021, and it's happening in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which is about 30 minutes from Greenville, where it's previously been held. It's a little bit smaller town. It's much more relaxed than Greenville. Greenville was they were sort of uptight about the mask thing. And so I decided to go with this venue that I found in Spartanburg, which actually turned out to be really a perfect place, in my opinion. It's called the Magnolia Grand, and it has like two full floors. And the first floor, the main floor where we're having the event, will be there, and it will be for us exclusively. But outside of that, there's a restaurant with a bar, and then below that is a 8-lane bowling alley with a bar. So there's plenty of other places to hang out afterwards. Now, the thing too is we're having it the same venue for 2 days this time. So Saturday and Sunday. So I want to do it. I haven't written out the schedule yet, but I want to do it where, Saturday is presentations and then Sunday we'll have music. So that's what's going on.
That'll be great. And, I'm really looking forward to the fact that it has the bowling alley. That'll be a lot of fun to do, go bowling with some of these people, and skee ball also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think everybody likes to play skee ball and everybody likes to bowl. So that should be a lot of fun. And yeah, I can tell you that, from personal experience, that Spartanburg is a pretty cool town in South Carolina, and that's why I moved there. That's where I live. So
Yeah, the venue is actually like less than 10 minutes from your house.
Yeah, see,
right?
there
Or
you
about
go.
exactly 10 minutes, something like that. But yeah, it's a great place. And I've got group rates at the hotel that's a few blocks away. It's within walking distance and it's a nice place. So there is a link to book the hotel right there. You can all be staying in the same place. You can walk to the venue. It's not like the last place where you had to drive from the hotels to get to the Shrine Center. And it's everything, and it's in historic Spartanburg. So it's the old town part where it's got the quaint little old brick buildings, and the event is a remodeled building too. It's a brand new. So that it's like a little, we can sort of take it over for the weekend and make like a little miniature flat earth town for the weekend. It'll be awesome.
That will be sweet. And so I noticed that Brian said my audio was half the level of yours, so I should actually talk into the microphone, I suppose, get a little bit closer. I did kick it up, guys, so if that helps, hopefully that'll be better. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's going to be super exciting, Karen, and it's going to be really cool because, you've got the presentations on the first day, and it's not going to be 100% entirely about that because people really, really like the socializing part of it. And
that's why this venue works out so great, because when we're done with that, you guys can just move on to the next area, go down to the bowling alley, hang out, talk, whatever. And then the next day, we'll have the whole place open, and like I said, we're going to do music. So ODD has already agreed to be a part of it. So
sweet. Cool.
Yeah. So ODD will be there, and I'm sure he'll want to do another musical performance again. And so we've got him going, and then, I still have to schedule people and add to it and stuff. And also Marty Leeds has also already agreed to do a presentation there.
Yep. And of
So
course,
we already have a few spots
let's not forget
filled.
the best person of all, me.
Right, Bob. Yes, Bob Nodell has agreed. Yes.
Yes, I have
so we
agreed
have
to
Bob,
do a presentation.
Marty Leeds, yeah, so far, and I've got some other people that I'm talking to in the process of confirming now. So I'm working on it, and I will announce those as those get released, as those get confirmed. So I think it's going to be awesome.
Cool. Hey, Austin, do you have any idea where you're going to be around October 23rd? Do you think you're going to be back on this side of the country, or what do you think? It'd be great if you could make it.
Yeah, I would say by October I should certainly be back over this way.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I would love to make. I would love to make it. I missed the last one, so I gotta get to some of them. Jeez.
I know that really sucked. You were down there partying with the Florida PD. That just sucked.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Well, that'll be really cool because every single time it's been a blast, and they just keep getting better and better and better. And people that go to them just have such a good time, and you can't really judge it until you've been to one. But they are absolutely amazing. So cool. Excellent. All right. So, Karen, as always, you are welcome to stay on the panel as long as you want, or if that's all you have to say, you can come or go at your leisure or at your leisure or whatever, but you are certainly welcome to stay if you want.
Cool.
Okay, cool. All right. So, let's see. Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you about, Jeran, really quick is, you had somebody do you a new intro for the Baby Truther. And that was freaking awesome. Who did that? Whoops. Jeran's muted. Oh. He went to the bathroom. All right. He'll be back in a minute. I didn't see the little show note on the side there. I got to start reading the internal chat. So, but yeah, anyway, Jeran got a new Baby Truther intro, and it's absolutely amazing. And I would really love to get a new intro from Globebusters, but I'm not really good at that. So I don't know. We were thinking about maybe holding a contest or something like that, or maybe just hiring one professionally done. But as much as I love Jeran's intros, and they have served us really well for the past several years, it's just good to, I think, change up the intros. And Karen, you've done a really good job with your your intro too on Beyond This Realm. Beyond This Realm? Unveiling This Realm. I'm sorry. Yes.
Unveiling This Realm, yes.
Yes. You did a great job with that. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, sure. All right. So,
yeah, nobody made me intros, so I had to just suck it up and make my own.
Yeah, I know. I actually went so far as to buy the Adobe suite so that I can actually learn it and, start doing videos. But unfortunately, Jeran's, my son Jeran's pretty sharp at it. So I can probably figure it out, but I'm just not as creative as some people in the community. So I don't know if I could expect much out of myself for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm fortunate because that's actually where I started. I was doing graphic design and graphic stuff and 3D animation and all that type of stuff before all this even happened. So I was prepared, luckily.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Jeran, are you back yet? And boy,
nope
not back
yet.
His back teeth must have been floating. All right. All right. Very cool. So, all right. Well, one thing I wanted to do also is I wanted to give a shout out to Taboo Conspiracy, Ben, as you all know. And he has been putting out a series of short videos lately. I think he's up to Flat Earth Fact number 9. And these are just, 1, 2, 3 minute little videos that they get right to the point. Kind of reminiscent of DITRH videos. And I just wanted to shout some of those out because he is really, really, doing a great job on these. And his latest one, Daniel Pratt, basically did this one. It was all the audio on it. And he did a great job. But I really like the fact that he is, making these shorts like this because, unfortunately, a lot of people just don't have a long attention span where they can sit there and listen to people for like Globebuster shows for 3 hours and, retain much of it. But other people do love it. And some people are like, oh yeah, the longer the better. And other people are like, no, it really needs to be shorter. And so that's why Ben does stuff like this. And so does David, because he recognizes that, most people kind of suffer from ADD. So they don't have the attention span really to focus on a lot of stuff. So I just wanted to shout out to Ben for that. And if you haven't seen him, you should go through him. His channel is Taboo Conspiracy 3. And there you have it. So I see that Jeran is back. And Jeran, I started talking to you when you left to go to the facilities. I was going to ask you, you got a new intro for the Baby Truther show. And who did that for you? Because it was fabulous.
Which one? It's gone through a few. You mean the one from Lucci Damas, the same guy who did my Journalism show intro?
I don't know. It's the same. You said when you played it, you said this is the first time I'm hearing it too, when you played it on Baby Truther show.
Oh yeah. That's the same guy who did the intro for my journalism show. He's a rapper that just Jack knows him. He's the guy who hooked me up with him. And so, yeah, now I can just kind of reach out when I have something. And it's amazing because I kind of just give him an idea and, I don't really write exactly word for word the lyrics, but I kind of throw something out there and say, hey, do something like this. And when I did that for the journalism show, what I got back was 10 times better than I could have expected. And the same thing happened again this time. So it's awesome because we have Rose joining us. Rose 777 is obviously going to be the fourth Baby Truther. And so we wanted to kind of do some sort of new intro there. And the Justin Bieber song doesn't go over well. We keep getting child endangerment community guideline takedowns for every time we use that intro.
That's so absurd.
I guess we're endangering the children on roller skates, even though they are CGI babies. But I guess that's endangering children. So we keep getting our videos taken down for that. So we wanted something different. And I've got a buddy who makes beats, right? Or he did when we were, in our 30s or something. He does a little bit now, not as much as before. But he has this beat that he's made that's years old at this point, and I've always really liked it. I thought it was always really catchy, but it's a little bit slow, and I've never known what to really use it for. I think back 3 or 4 years ago, I made a video on the Journalism channel called top 10 reasons to watch Jeranism or something like that. And I put that beat behind that video. And I got so many people asking, can we buy that beat? Where can we buy that beat? And I think it's just really catchy. And so I sent him that beat with kind of an idea of what we wanted. And it came back awesome, to say the least. So I'm adding a couple drops to it, making the kind of video to go along with it. And yeah, I'm excited about it. So you heard it on Thursday show then. Yeah, absolutely. And if you would, maybe when we go over to switch over to the Rockfin side, you could play that for everybody. They could see it really quick, and we don't have to worry about YouTube striking us for, babies. Well, no, this one I can play. This one has nothing in it. Oh, okay. That's right. Yeah, no, the other one. So this one should be fine to play. Let me see what's the best way to go about playing it, I guess. Yeah, I'll bring it up for us and we can listen to it real quick. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, this is really good, guys. Yeah, I love a good intro. Can't turn that down. So let me find it here for you. I believe it's this one. Yeah, and there's still a few things to be added to it, but tell me if you can hear this as it starts. Let's see here. Make sure I've got the right thing open. Yep. All right, here we go. This one. You hear that? Nope, not hearing anything. You may have to share screen with audio on Skype. Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Bring this up. All right, I'm going to share screen and with audio. Hold on, what's going on here? Share screen with sound. And okay, you can hear this one now. Let's see. Yep.
Yeah. You know what time it is, right? It's Thursday, y'all. Time to take the training wheels off. It's the baby. We got Rose 777 here. She's yelling poppycock. Dave Wise with his backwards cap. In the flat earth, sun, moon, and zodiac clock app. And we got prime time. Alex Stein, number 99. He's on the grind all the time. And Jeran from Jeranism, keeping all these babies in line. Let's kick it. It's the Baby Truth Show, and it starts now. It's the Baby Truth Show. 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 Sorry, kids, things ain't always gonna be what they seem. They start you off early, got you thinking that we one team and we should live, breathe, believe the same one thing. Skip the lecture, I'm a director making my own scene. When you find out, only certain people get a ticket to the hideout. Waiting for us to go put the fires in the skies out. Because we ain't no spinning globe, it's time you find out. Now open up the crib and let your mind out. It's the Baby Truth Show. 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 It's the Baby Truth Show, and it starts now.
So really cool when stuff turns out, better than you expected. And I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but the video that is going to be done by next Thursday, it's in the process right now. Probably one of the best intros I put together. So awesome. Yep. Yeah, I'll bet you are. That's very cool. Okay, let me get back over and share back to you guys. And there we go. Okay, beautiful. Well, that's really cool. And like I said, as much as I love your videos and they have served us for, the last several years, I think it'd be cool to get something new. And, I don't know if I want to hire somebody to do it or, run a contest or, what, but I just think it would be really cool to get a little bit different intro. I just think that, the job that Jennifer Spengler did on, the original where she did the remake was absolutely fantastic. Of course, I haven't been using it because YouTube hits us with a copyright claim every single time, saying that, oh, this is Ray Parker Jr. stuff, even though we paid for it. But, whatever. What do you do, right? So direct. They keep doing that. And yes, I got it wrong again. I always get Just Jack and Flat Fellow mixed up. I swapped their identities. So I was wrong. It's That Flat Fellow that got me in touch with Lucci.
Ah, okay. Very good. All right, cool. So, all right, guys. So what I want to do today, and we'll just kind of start out doing this for a little bit, is there was a gentleman that, and honestly, I don't know if he's a troll or what, but I did look at some of his videos, and he appears to be a pilot, look into flying gliders and stuff. So, that was kind of cool. But so here is his comment in the chat. Let me make it a little bit bigger. So from the Stuart Hall guy here, and this is something that is, reminiscent of a lot of questions I get, and I'm sure you guys do too. As far as what makes the flat earth work, this, that, and the other thing. What about the Antarctic sun, Arctic sun, blah, 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 blah. Stuff that honestly we have addressed a billion times. And it's difficult to keep doing that because, we just feel like, well, nobody's really listening. But again, we also understand that not everybody has the time to go through all of this material. So that's why I figured we'd, kind of compact it up and maybe even make a cutout of this particular section of the video that just covers these questions. So I'm going to go through these questions one at a time, and I will give you guys the opportunity to answer it first. If you want to answer it first, just jump right in on it. If not, I will go ahead and take off with it with what I think it might be. Or if you answer it, then maybe we can elaborate on it or discuss it a little bit. But so let's hit it. Let's try this out and see how this works. This may be something that we wind up doing as a regular show segment because, I think it's probably needed. All right. So question number 1 from Mr. Stuart Hall. He says, why can it be predicted where the ISS can be sighted and when anywhere in the world? If the Earth is flat, the ISS would not appear from under the horizon. Cross the sky perfectly visible with my 8-inch reflecting telescope and then clearly disappear over the horizon again. Surely on a flat Earth, it would just traverse an arc around the sky.
I'm going to start with this one just because I have and maybe in the second half when we move over to Rockfin too, I'll discuss a little bit about Bob the Science Guy, who is one of the biggest liars I know now at this point. Anytime, I have no problem with people that get things wrong, have different opinions than me. If that's the way they really feel, whatever, that's the way that goes. But when you start catching people flat out being deceptive, I have a problem. So number 1 question here tells me this person is a troll. Why? Because the ISS has never come from below the horizon and has never disappeared behind the horizon. So once again, for this guy to say in his first question, quite clearly, something that is a complete and total fabrication, he's lying. It doesn't happen. So when he says, why can it be predicted where the ISS can be sighted anywhere in the world? That's true. If the Earth is flat, the ISS would not appear from under the horizon, period. So if it doesn't appear from under the horizon, then you just answered your question. If the Earth is flat, then the ISS would not appear from under the horizon. Correct, sir. And it would not then cross the sky perfectly visible with my 8-inch telescope. And then, that's another thing. The ISS is not perfectly visible through anybody's telescope. And if you're telling people that, you're a liar because you're not going to be able to track the ISS with a 8-inch telescope. I just am out in my backyard just tracking the ISS with this telescope. Nope, you made that up again. You're just repeating what other people have said, and you think that it makes you kind of cool to be proud about it. It's not true. And then disappear over the horizon again. Nobody in the history of the world's ever seen the ISS disappear over the horizon. So again, person's just making shit up. It's not what happens.
So how would you describe it does appear, Jeran? Because I haven't watched it able in real time to say.
It appears out of nowhere and disappears into nothing. It is it does not come up over the horizon, much like an airplane wouldn't, right? So if an airplane was flying away from you, you don't actually see the airplane disappear behind the horizon. It's not what happens. The plane would
kind of fades out behind the ambience of the sky, right?
Yeah, correct. So if somebody wants to find some great footage, but think of how many times I've gone out and watched the ISS. Or Bob, you ever seen it over the horizon?
No, it just seems to just pop in, but no, it never seems to rise up from the horizon. It will come up.
It clearly does. Clearly disappears over the horizon again. And it also comes from behind the horizon, from under the horizon. So, and this guy's got an 8-inch telescope. So
yeah, I know. Well,
I recorded the ISS transverse the sun, but I could only see it while it was in front of the sun, you know, and it was weird. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
I
it
saw-
ain't what they say it is.
Exactly. And here's the thing too about these questions is none of us have ever claimed to have all the answers. Okay, not once. I've never heard Karen say I've got all the answers or Bob say, Jeran, come to me, I've got every answer. We just have no issues in discussing these things. And once you realize you've been lied to about everything here on Earth, then the logical next step is that, oh, well, we must be lied to about the things that we can't go and verify and the stuff we'll never be able to see for ourselves. That's a logical step. And people seem to miss that one. And they think that they can go around saying, yeah, I do think some things are lied about. Yeah, I do. 9/11 looks like it's and this might be a lie. But about space and this car on Mars, man, they're not lying about that. They're perfect about that. They know everything about space. No, it's all fabrications and it's all stories to be told. And where's the easiest place to lie about? It's the place that you can't go and verify. So none of us are saying we know. It is the weirdest thing to me, too. I thought that the videos I saw of the ISS crossing the sun or the moon were not legit. And then I went out there and did it myself. So whatever it is, something is happening there. I don't think there's people in it. I've explained why. And guess what? I don't have to. There's no rule in the world that says that I have to believe known liars. People who have lied about going to the moon 50 years ago. There's no book that says, Jeran, you must believe these people. I don't have to believe shit. So I don't.
Well, there you go.
And I would say in the event that the person who fielded the question has a unique vantage point of the ISS that nobody else can see, so assuming that it is doing what he's saying, which I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Jeran about the way that it is actually seen for most of us. But I would
he must live on a mountain or something.
Yeah, maybe he lives on a mountain in a desert or something, right? But so the sky is not a vacuum, right? That we have atmosphere. It behaves as a liquid that refracts light, and it does perturb light so that it's not light doesn't travel just in a straight line path from objects in the sky to your eye. And assuming that it does do what he's saying that it does, I would say that's because the sky is not a vacuum. And much like the sun and the moon rise, or other planetary objects rise, stars rise and set, that's due to a combination of things. I would say perspective and refraction. And so my answer to that, assuming that the ISS does what he says it does, is because of those two key ingredients. Would be again perspective and refraction.
Right.
That's a good call. I mean, I used to always like to describe the 5-mile room. So if you think of the room you're in right now, it's probably a normal room with an 8-foot ceiling or 10-foot ceiling. And if you kind of picture that, and now picture that room is 5 miles wide or big. So all of a sudden, none of us have ever even seen that, a 5-mile room. But if you think about it and you realize that you've got a light above your head right now, if you sent that light across the ceiling away from you and it just started moving and it's going across the ceiling, if it got to be a mile away from you, 1.5 miles, 2 miles, what's going to happen is that light is going to merge with the ground. And somebody on the other side of that 5-mile room, if they had a light above their head and they were well lit up, but that was the only light in the entire 5-mile room, where you're at would be completely dark. Even though you're in the same room, it's just that light throw cannot reach you. And then also from your vantage point, because of perspective, you'd be looking down towards where that light is. You wouldn't see it. It would have already merged with the floor and gone, quote unquote, under the horizon. Just by the nature of perspective. So if that happens in a small 5-mile room, now we can expand that and say, well, does that happen in a 20-mile room, in a 50-mile room, in 100 miles? And then you keep stretching that out, and all of a sudden you realize that's the way everything works. So even if he does have some special vantage point, it doesn't make the room that we're talking about. If we see that light take off from our heads and go across the ceiling, and it keeps going and going and going and goes under the horizon and disappears and merges with the floor, would it then be okay to say, well, if this room was flat, it would never be the case that the light would go under the horizon? Well, no, jackass, the room is flat, and it's a 5-mile room, and therefore, even at distances of 1 mile or 2 miles away from you, things on the ceiling above you do merge with the floor and do, quote unquote, go behind the horizon, especially if you have a cool 8-inch telescope that, guess what, doesn't change the fact of what happens with perspective. People think telescopes are magical and that we can just look off towards the ocean and see 3 miles until we see the horizon. But if you just tilt that telescope up just a little hair, you can see trillions of miles. It's amazing what telescopes are capable of. So imagine, though, if you kind of picture the whole heliocentric model and there's all these balls flying around this vacuum of space, picture what they tell you, that there's this huge giant earth rock water ball spinning and flying and just majesty. It's great. And think of the little tiny ants or the little fleas that are on that ball that they call us humans, right? We're just little minuscule nothings on this little speck of dust. But those minuscule little fleas are so impressive that with some glass, right, they made lenses. They kind of screwed them together in a tube, and they can see now trillions of miles. They can actually see back in time, these little fleas can look off into the spaces and see back in time. It's amazing what science and humanity is capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing that I want to mention, and again, I did cover this in the FEIC 2019 presentation. And, you know, the fact is that you cannot see something the size of a 747 for 2,400 miles. And it's like, well, what do I mean by that? Well, they tell us in the ISS tracker, right, that sometimes you can see the ISS for as long as 8 minutes. Now, that's not the norm. The norm is typically 4 to 6 minutes, but there are 8-minute sightings, right? And if you multiply that 8 minutes times 5 miles per second, you're talking about literally the distance across the entire United States of America. So not only is it impossible to see something the angular size of a 747 at a distance of 250 miles, but they're also trying to tell you that you can see it for a period of 8 minutes, which would mean essentially that you could see it going from Los Angeles to New York City. And that is patently absurd. So then I got, questions beyond that. Well, then what is it? Okay. And what it is, what I think it is it's a modified U2 that has been modified with ultra bright LEDs. And that is why you can only see it in specific regions. Because remember, if I can see it for the entire distance of the United States, then so should everybody else be able to as well. But they can't. And that's because it is a local phenomenon. And that is also the only way that you could possibly see it the entire time and have light coming from it. Because, remember, it's supposedly reflecting light down to you from the sun, right? And if you've ever played with a mirror, I've said this a million times, you cannot bullseye somebody's eyeball, especially from 250 miles away continuously. The angular size would prohibit it. The inverse square law of light would diminish that. And it simply is not possible. So there you have it.
Let's not forget things like, I think it's called Project Bluebeam, where you have the high-powered radio telescopes that are supposedly like perturbing the ionosphere. Because remember, I mean, the flat Earth, the NASA hoaxes, these are probably the biggest, highest budgeted, longest running hoaxes ever perpetrated on we the people by the government ever. I mean, I really can't think of anything bigger that they've been, foisting on us for so long. They're going to pull out all the stops, and so it would not surprise me one bit as if it was actually some sort of a what's the word I'm looking for? Like not a mirage, a
hologram.
A hologram. There you go. Thanks, Jeran. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I'm with Bob. I mean, I just don't think it's rational to assume that it is an object that is 350 or 300 or so miles in altitude, the size of a football field, because again, you're right. The angular size of it wouldn't permit your eye to see it, just because of the sheer apparent angular size would be too small, let alone what light is it reflecting? It's supposedly reflecting sunlight, and yet it is in the shadow of the earth at night. So there is nothing to reflect back at you. There's all kinds of problems with the ISS. And I would say that the fact that we see it with the naked eye proves that it is not a football field size object 350 miles in altitude.
Agreed.
All right. The only reason we see the sun appear to do what this guy's saying the ISS does is because the sun's throw of light is certainly much greater than the ISS. So the ISS, like Bob said, by the time it gets to an angular size that you would no longer see, is way before it would ever get to the point of where the quote unquote horizon would be, and it would go behind some horizon. This is why nobody's ever seen an airplane go behind a horizon, is because you can't see that far. And I know you think magical, glass tubes made by Galileo are the answer to life. They're not, and they cannot see past the opaque atmosphere anyway. So this is why you'll never in your life see, Canigoo, pretty impressive, right? 275 miles or 175 miles. To see that entire mountain set. Could I foresee seeing something, 300-400 miles, maybe from the ground? That would be about the most. We've got Jay Tolan, who is seeing, 800-900 miles, but he's at altitude. and seeing that far. So that makes a little bit more sense. But
and things with the large angular sizes too, huge.
Correct.
Entire
right. So
cities.
Smaller things.
Yeah.
This is why any kind of claim of why can't we see the Eiffel Tower from, well, because that's idiotic, and the Atlantic Ocean is 2,500 miles wide, and you're not going to be able to ever see across anything even close to that. You're not going to be able to see 1,000 miles. It's just not the way the atmosphere works. Your eyes aren't magic, and telescopes do not cut through atmosphere. Atmosphere compounds, and yeah, we can look around us right now and we can see just fine. Best way I ever heard it described to me, I think it was in an early book too, is the guy talking about being at a train station and looking at a train schedule, and it's a very foggy day, and you can clearly see your train schedule in front of you as you're reading it, but you might look up and think you're the only one at the train station because now it's so foggy you can't see around you, and yet everybody at the train station sees the same thing. They're each looking at their own train schedule. They're each able to see that, but because it's so foggy, they can't see much beyond that. You kind of expand that a little bit and you start to see how the atmosphere works, that we all live in our own, again, we've called it the personal atmospheric dome, which is a little bit, of a misdescription. It's no dome. It's just we each have our own vantage point, and we can only see as the radius of a circle. So basically, you can only see in a circle distance around you. And they've used that to convince the world that they're on a ball. And it's just not the case. And this is why people say, well, there wouldn't be a horizon if the Earth was flat. Then you don't understand how eyes work. You don't understand how optics work. And I'll find you several articles by PhD scientists that say that the Earth would look no different than what we see if the Earth was flat. From the ground level, from looking around, there's no difference. You can see in a circle distance around you. And if you draw that circle in your head, and you've been told since you were 2 weeks old, 2 months old, 2 years old, that the Earth's a gigantic flying water sphere, then all of a sudden you're going to associate those things, and you're going to kind of think, oh, okay, I get it when I look out and I see this and I see that. It's because I'm seeing in a circle, and therefore the Earth must be a sphere. It's just not the case.
I would agree with a lot of what they're saying too, if we lived in a vacuum. But the atmosphere has a lot to do with the way we observe distant objects and the heavenly luminaries and objects in the sky. I mean, that is a big part of this that, we tend to think that our eyes are super, like acuity, and, light always travels in the straight line rectilinear path, but that isn't the case because, well, we do not live in a vacuum, right?
Right. And I know where I live, it's always different, but it just depends on the type of day. If it's cold during, closer to wintertime, I can easily see the Sierra Nevada mountains, easily snow-capped. That's most of the time during the winter here. During the summer, if I look over there to my east, I don't see those mountains at all. They're just not there. Why? Well, because the atmosphere is too thick and it's too gross. Like today, it's going to be 100 degrees here again where I'm at. And if we look off into the east, we're not going to see those mountains. So it really shows you that it's not a matter of, oh, when I don't see the mountains, that must be because that's the edge of the sphere, right? That's what somebody would think if they believed in a globe and came here and looked off into my east direction and just saw the horizon kind of meet the sky and said, okay, that must be where the edge of the sphere is. However, there's gigantic 15,000 foot mountains over there, so you can only see them when it's cool. And it's just the way it kind of works everywhere. If you've ever looked around wherever you're at, you'll notice that some days that horizon line, or what you can see beyond it, changes. Yep.
Well said. All right. Okay, so let's move on then to question number 2. And let's see.
This will be an 8-hour show.
Yeah, no doubt. We probably won't get to all of them today, but this is cool because he pretty much has all the questions, both dumb and good, that we get asked. So, we'll just kind of work through these as we go. And if it takes more than one show, then so be it. That's fine. So the next question is number 2. It says, what makes a lighter thing rise and a heavier thing fall if there is no such thing as gravity? So if nobody wants to take that, first of all, I want to say that not all flat earthers are of the opinion that there is no such thing as gravity, because, some of us believe that there is absolutely a downward accelerative force. Because, again, if you drop an object, it continues to accelerate. That's kind of an anomalous thing, right? But what we do have problems with is the way that it is derived. Now, initially under the Newtonian model, we were told that, well, it's mass attracting mass, right? Well, I'm sorry, but the Cavendish experiments do not conclusively show that anywhere. In fact, most teachers' assistants, lab assistants hate that experiment because they have the hardest time getting it to work, and it's easily debunked most of the time because what you're actually seeing when you see any of these movements is air disturbance, electrostatic attraction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we are not saying that we know conclusively what causes this acceleration, but we have our own theories on it, and we call it a downward acceleration caused by an electrostatic phenomenon. In other words, the world is electric. Everything in the world works electrically, and it can be fairly easily demonstrated that when you have two charges, as in a capacitor, and in the flat earth model, remember, we have the earth itself as earth ground, and we have the firmament as the positive side of this internal circuit. And in between it, we have an electrostatic gradient of about 100 volts per meter. It's been measured. Nobody is disputing that, right? But when you are inside of it and you can't get outside of it, it makes it a little bit difficult to, do tests on it and stuff like that. So we have our own opinions on it. Obviously, not all flat earthers are of the opinion that there is no such thing, period, as gravity. There are some, absolutely. And then there are those of us that disagree with that and say that there is definitely a downward accelerative force of some kind. And what the exact cause of that is, well, we don't know exactly, but we're pretty sure that it isn't mass attracting mass, and we're damn sure that it's not bendy space-time. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, like the primary agent would, like, obviously density has a huge role in it. Like when I throw a beach ball up, it falls down because it's more dense than the air. But whenever I take it to the bottom of the pool, it goes up because it's less dense than the water. So this is a huge part of it, right? That's why helium goes up. It's lighter than the air. But everything's intrinsically electrostatic, like you said. It's just super, super weak. And so both of these variables are objectively there. You can't isolate and get rid of electrostatic. You can't control that variable and then try to isolate some other causal agent. So to say the phenomena happens without it is literally dumb. And then we know that density is what causes the primary movement, or at least maybe not the primary movement, but is the primary agent, right? Like density equilibrium, people call it density disequilibrium, whatever. That has a huge role in it. So we never need some magic bending and warping of space-time or things pulling you down omnidirectional to the center of a spinning water ball in a vacuum. That's just what they need. So they make up stories about gravity because they have to explain how the Earth even could theoretically be a ball. Literally, that's why gravity as is defined underneath their religion has to be there to even explain how it could be postulated. Right, so everything's electrostatic. You can incoherent dielectric acceleration, whatever. It's super, super weak, and you can't isolate. You can't control that variable and get rid of it. So to say that it has nothing to do with that would also, I think, be dishonest. But we know that density, disequilibrium, and electrostatics are clearly the two primary agents, and this has nothing to do with a ball. And in fact, it actually refutes the fact that the Earth is a ball because electrostatics is so weak. And so if you applied it to this magic little solar system in the medium of vacuum space that couldn't exist, it wouldn't cause planets to go around each other. It's way too weak. It would never cause these huge masses to revolve around one another. So, it really, everything that we have as observable phenomena or empirical evidence refutes the globe Earth claim of what gravity is. And they say that concepts bend and warp. And when they apply it to their fairy tale, it's off by 95%. It's just a joke, right? So we just know that density disequilibrium and electrostatics plays a role. And that doesn't work on the globe Earth because on the smallest scale, electrostatics is 10 to the 39th power stronger than gravity even claims to be. And they say that this just flips on its head and changes magically in this magic medium of space. So, I mean, the truth is that we are way closer to explaining the phenomena of downward acceleration than the globe Earth ever will be.
Yeah, it's definitely density and buoyancy that's the key agent here. And I would say that the electrostatic charge of the Earth gives the downward tendency necessary for the higher density objects to make their way down and less dense objects to find their way above that. It's just the natural order of things, and it is governed by the relative density of the object or fluid.
Yep. So essentially, for your number two question is a straw man, right? Because you're assuming that all flat earthers are claiming the same thing. And you shouldn't do that because unlike the ball earth, flat earthers have difference in opinions. We have a variance in the way that we see things and how they work. For the most part, we are glad to consider each other's, thoughts on this. But in the ball earth model, you can't do that. Your thinking has been done for you. Your math has been done for you, and you do not cross the line, period. And, quite frankly, your concept of gravity is absurd, to say the least, for all the reasons that Austin mentioned it. And the fact that, now, even with the Einstein concept, the fact that you are adding attributes to a privation, right? An emptiness, you're putting attributes on it, or you're saying you can bend it, or a concept, right? Time is a concept. Time is not something that is real other than the way that we have decided to measure it, right? Now, I'm not saying that, our concept of time is not worth anything, because obviously it is, but it's still a concept regardless. And it is not something that you can bend and vary. We set the concept when we said that, 1 second is equal to X amount of, I think it's a decay on a cesium atom is the way that they set that. And bada bing, that is the duration that 1 second is. And then from there forward, we have then set the scale: 60 seconds to a minute, 60 minutes to an hour, 24 hours to a day, 7 days a week, 52 days. You get the idea. It's a concept. It is not a real thing that you can bend and manipulate, period.
I mean, really, what is the evidence for space-time even existing? And I would say, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I would say the only evidence for space-time is, well, Einstein thunk it, therefore it is. Right? I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but the funniest part is, like, dude, that's like the best you could come up with. You have to say it's concepts because they want to say that there's nothing beyond the material world. So they have to just say that it's conceptual. So it's like intrinsically contradictory from the jump. Like, you're going to have to apply physicality to concepts because you're claiming there's nothing beyond that and that it's emptiness. So it's literally impossible to ever try to explain within that confinement. It's actually just stupid.
Yeah, and there really should be some alarms going off when you see what gravity has done to the idea of science, being that we're taught one certain method, and we're taught that if something doesn't match experiment, if a theory doesn't match experiment or observation, you throw it out. Go listen to Feynman, say it over and over and over again. Doesn't match, throw it out. Doesn't match. So guess what? Your gravity doesn't match anything that they see in any observations anywhere in the sky. And yet they hold so desperately onto it that they've had to invent basically mathematical placeholders like dark matter, dark energy, things that have never been observed, but they're going to go ahead and tell you must be there. Why? It's because they need their gravity. Now, if they just walk that back and they kind of remove some of those things, and all of a sudden things start making a lot more sense. But they can't do that. They'll never be able to do that because gravity is what makes the Earth a ball. And if you get rid of that, then your entire space fabrication is exposed. And so they'll hold on to that no matter what. And that is the complete antithesis of what science is supposed to do.
Yep. Well said. Well said. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. You're going to love this one. This one is definitely a straw man. And whoever gets this one, this is going to be fun for you. Number 3, if I drill all the way through the disk of the flat Earth, what would I see or find on the other side? So if
we don't know.
I don't know. Like, your guess is as good as mine. Nobody knows that it's even a disc. Nobody's drilled down past 8 miles. And it's not like for lack of trying either. They tried for years and years and years to go farther than that, but they couldn't.
Yeah, with diamond-tipped blades, they couldn't get through.
Yeah, if we drill down to the core, what would we find then of this little globe Earth? That's the real question, because their predictions were wrong the entire way just to 8 miles.
Oh, we'll find the molten iron core, I'm sure. It's in there.
Yeah. And dude, I love this point out that Harvard, Yale, Stanford, you name it, they can't even explain how the core and the magnetic field cooperate together. They still can't even explain it.
Well, you know how molten lava is an excellent structural material, so I'm sure it is there.
Right. And very magnetic.
Oh, yeah.
Just skips past the idea that things lose their magnetic properties at certain temperatures.
Yeah, the Curry point. The thing that the globe earthers need to really wrap their mind around is that flat earthers don't make claims that aren't verifiable. That's why we're flat earthers. So you can only go 8 miles. That's all that we acknowledge that you can do. We don't make up fairy tales beyond that.
Right. It's like what Bob just said. Bob said it perfectly when he said, you've had your thinking done for you. This person here who's asking these questions is basically saying, I only know how to think the way I was told. And this is very shocking to me that anybody would. Where's the lady with the pigtails at the front of the classroom teaching us all these things? They're very taken aback. Where did you get your degree, Jeran? Where did your degree come from? Because if I don't have and thank God I don't have a degree, because if I had a degree, that is a basic piece of paper that proclaims my indoctrination. And at which point you should recognize which side of the fence I'm going to be on this issue. I'm going to be on the side of the fence of the one that I've spent 8 years being drilled into my head.
Yep. Very well said. All right. So his next question, actually, I should have read them together. His number 4 says, why has no one ever drilled or tunneled through to the bottom of the flat earth? Again, that's an absurd question. How would you expect that to be done when even on your ball earth, the deepest that anyone has ever dug is 8 miles, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
No,
Why
Bob,
has
you didn't
one
know.
drilled
You
to the
didn't know
core
that?
of the globe Earth.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't know the flat Earth has to do things that the globe Earth can't do with trillions of dollars and all higher academia and centuries of all the quote unquote scientists and professors and labs. We're supposed to do what they can't do. If we can't, that must mean their fairy tales are true. Duh.
And
Yeah,
I think
where's our
that's
model?
one of
Where's our model?
I think that's one of the beautiful things about flat Earth is there is some mystery yet in this world. It's like we don't know everything, and I think there is something really enticing about that, magical almost.
yes, absolutely. Well said too. And yeah, and that's the thing, even science admits, that they're off in their cosmology by 10 to the 120th, Austin's figured of 95%. In other words, they have no idea. And additionally, they have also admitted that they do not use peer review because it simply is impractical and too expensive. Who in the hell is going to pay for it, right? So why do that? And of course, as a result of that, half the freaking papers that are submitted for peer review or submitted into the journal, and there's a multitude, ResearchGate, all kinds of stuff like this, are simply not being peer reviewed. So they are just accepted in and, okay, well, that's the way it is. And it's just not happening. So it's really ridiculous.
We could follow suit with the globe earthers, and we could come up with a theory that seems plausible and then teach that to all generations of toddlers and call it fact, right?
Yep.
Exactly. Or think of what would happen. Let's say that flat Earth is not true, and that but imagine that we all are able to teach flat Earth. It's in all the textbooks. It's being taught in all the colleges, and then we are in charge of peer review. How do they not see that as you bring us, let's say the globe is true, and you guys keep coming with this globe evidence and these globe proofs, but we're the 400 flat earthers are the only ones doing the peer reviewing. How do you not see the conflict of interest there? That because everything that we've ever done has been about the flat earth, and we've been speaking about the flat earth, everything we do, we've been teaching the flat earth, that we, of course, are not going to take any of your papers seriously, and we're going to dismiss them. Why? Because we are the 400 members of the Flat Earth Society, and that as we get your papers, we're going to just say, this doesn't match anything that we've been taught or been teaching, and so they throw it right out. So now flip that, and you see where we're coming from, that you've had all these years and all these great minds, if you want to call it that, or patent thefts, or whatever you want to call them, who have come up with these conceptions that simply answer some questions like Michelson Morley and Michelson Gale, and they are able to kind of use their jargon to kind of fit around some things, and now we can make space-time, and we can say that it is something that can be bent and manipulated, and all these things. And just because people buy in and keep pushing this same nonsense to children, now you have those people in charge of your peer review system. So when you start asking things like, well, where's the flat earth papers? Why haven't you submitted any journals? Well, that would be idiotic, considering that 0 out of the 400 people would take anything that you're saying seriously. You are calling into question their entire faith, their entire religion, their entire education, whatever you want to call it. And that's a problem. So this is a gatekeeping method, not a method to find truth.
Yeah, and it's so bad that it's like no matter how preposterous of what they come up with, if it's the best they can come up with, that's accepted fact for the moment, right? Like with Michelson Morley, they said the apparatus contracts, even though it's sitting still. Just trust me, it's actually contracting, right? Because that's the best they could come up with. So that's accepted fact, and you're not allowed to question it until we come up with something better. Like,
what if we just did that?
Exactly.
Wait, my test, it's because the arm is shortening. The arm is shortening, and therefore that's what. Oh, it's arm. Yeah, it's arm length contraction, length contraction. Okay, now everybody just believes in that. You're absolutely right. It's ridiculous. Or when things happen like 9/11, and you have, the NIST or somebody who comes out and said, and that just it has to be accepted, even though you've got all these other colleges and architects and engineers, they have something completely different to say. But we can only accept what they tell us is the acceptable answer. It's ridiculous. You are totally being lied to and thought for.
Yep. Very good. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our next one. Next question is, why are all of the other planets different from our planet?
Oh, me, because we're not a planet.
Go for it. I'm gonna run to the bathroom, so you take it, and I'll be right back.
Okay, easy for me because we're not a planet. Again, these are things that have been sold to you, and really need to erase your mind and be like, okay, let's pretend I wasn't indoctrinated, and I'm just here, and I look around. What do I see? I see a pretty magical kind of place, unbelievable kind of existence, and certainly appears from our observations that we are the center of something very important, very integral, key, in fact, key to the operation of everything. We're obviously clearly different than animals. No animal will ever evolve to begin thinking about how they got here and whether they were created and where they're going when they die. That's a completely separate thing. That is a human thing. And clearly there's a reason behind that. So it's just insane to me that we've been convinced that, because men went and walked on the moon, when we look up at the moon, all of a sudden our mind, whether we realize it or not, kind of plays this trick on you where, well, if men can go and land on that rock and stand sideways or upside down, then I must be standing on a rock myself and might be upside down as well. And it's just a very easy thing to adopt and become part of because nobody questions it. But 4 or 5 years ago, you couldn't come out of fourth grade, at least in the United States, and believe anything other than the globe. It was impossible. It was a very successful indoctrination plan.
Yeah, I would say to the question, the lights in the night sky are simply nothing like the Earth. The lights in the sky are completely separate, I would say, secondary features of the Earth, very small comparatively to the Earth. The Earth is the physical plane. You could call it whatever, dielectric inertial plane. It is the physical plane of existence, and the lights in the night sky are something entirely separate and not at all like unto the Earth. And
you're just sorry. Go ahead.
It is. Oh no, you're good. It's an indoctrination campaign that we've been convinced that the physical plane of existence is somehow another one of these lights in the sky flying around, but it is not. And the fact of the matter is, that once you can realize that you've been convinced of this just ridiculous theory, that's when you realize, okay, so the Earth is the physical plane and the lights in the sky are something else entirely.
Yeah, of course, the very question is drowning in stupidity, and you reify what's in contention when you say like our planet. But actually, ironically enough, the word planet means wandering light, like wanderer. So even according to what the word actually means that you're using, the Earth isn't that. They're just wandering lights. They move a little bit different, but they all move east to west. You can record them, zoom in on them. They just are lights in the sky. They're pulsating orbs. They're not static, and they all move east to west around the central point over top of the Earth. And so what's actually the discussion is what is the Earth? Is it actually the shape of an oblate spheroid that's spinning in a vacuum? And it objectively is not. So you just looking up at a circular orb that's static or not static and saying, oh, look, that's a ball, that's a sphere. I promise it's terra firma. Just believe me. Now the Earth has to be that is so remedial. It's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah. Very good. All right. So here's another one that's really good here. Next one up is... what makes the sun move? Okay. Nobody on that one? All right, I'll take it. We don't know what makes the sun move. And honestly, we're not even entirely sure that the sun or the object we are perceiving as the sun is a physical object. The evidence appears to be that it is plasma-based, whatever it is, and if you look at other cultures and what they have said about it, through other cosmologies, it would seem that how it's being described, at least how I read it, is that it is going through a series of, I don't know if I would call it gateways, but basically different projection points to where we are able to then perceive it going around the Earth. Now, again, we don't know this, but then again, you don't know what makes the sun move in the ball Earth model either. In fact, you don't even really acknowledge that the sun moves in the ball Earth model because you say everything is in a static reference frame. And, what about the 67,000 mile an hour motion of the Earth around the sun, right? And the sun whipping through the galaxy at 500,000 miles an hour, and then going through the Milky Way, going through around the Great Attractor at 1.2 million miles per hour. All of these motions have never been registered ever. And yet you are asserting that it's happening, and all of the evidence all of the observable evidence and measurable evidence states the opposite, that we are not moving, we are not in motion, and even common sense denies it. Because if we were moving anywhere near these ridiculous speeds and the incredible amount of distance that they say we move every year, then our sky would change, and it would not just change a little bit, it would change dramatically. It does not. So there you have it.
I would say that the lights in the sky, the heavenly luminaries, are a big mystery. And it's because of entities like NASA just bald-faced lying to the public and calling it scientific fact that people believe they have a firm grasp on in terms of like what the sun and the moon are. But in fact, I would say that we'll probably never really truly know the answer to a lot of these questions. So that's the best stab at it I can take, is that there is a great deal of mystery in the heavens.
And maybe they're intended to be that way, right? Maybe we're not supposed to know, and maybe they're supposed to be signs of creation and beauty and wonder and something far more intelligent than ourselves. But you have men who have come in and stolen that away from you by trying to pretend that they know the time it takes for light to get from the center of the sun to the surface of it. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It takes a million years for a photon to reach the center.
Which is hilarious because Lawrence Krauss, when he's not doing things with women he shouldn't be doing, he claims that his number one proof against the Earth being young is because it takes light a million years to get from the center of the sun to the surface of the sun. It is hilarious, John. It is probably the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. And people just buy into it. They're just so lost that they just... And so, the other thing, Bob, why don't we just say that they have their great attractor? I'm going to say that at the center of the Earth, there's a great attractee. Okay? And that's what they go. It's a great attractee.
There you go. There you go. Because
prove me evidence that there's no great attractee.
Exactly.
Bring the evidence that there's no great attractee, please.
The cosmic microwave background seems to be indicating that Earth is at the center of the universe. What do they call this? I forgot what they call it. The what?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the axis of evil.
That's exactly what I was looking for. The axis of evil, in fact.
Yeah.
And they call it that because, well, who knows why they call it that, but nevertheless, they have found that the cosmic microwave background, everything seems to be emanating from the Earth. All expansions seem to be centered around the Earth. All of our scientific experiments ever done throughout history, including modern day ones by MIT, tell us that the Earth is at the center of the universe. And what do you say about that, Globers?
Well, it's the absolute horror of a unique position. And we've got to avoid that at all costs. Go read Edwin Hubble, who is responsible for that constant, this moving away and the red shifting. And you guys have just eaten it up, man. You just eaten it up because it's been written in books and you think it must be true. And then in the next sentence, you're telling me how science is always changing and it's never taking a position and it can never be settled science. And then 1 second later, you're telling me that it has to be a globe and this has been proven scientifically. It's such backwards, ridiculous thinking that it's really embarrassing. It's really embarrassing to see it happen on a daily basis where people just have no ability to think anymore. I did want to ask Austin real quick. Austin, when you talk about the pulsating orbs, it looks a lot to me like lights would look behind glass. Are you in the camp that the stars would be behind or on the other side of some sort of dome or on the inside?
I'll go ahead and answer for Austin. He's stepped away for a minute, but yeah, I think it's in a fluid, if I would just say.
Who is this? Is this Chris?
Yeah, this is Chris.
Oh, okay. Wow, you totally caught me by surprise there.
Sorry. Hi. Here's Austin.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Funny.
What's going on?
That totally weirded me out.
No, Austin, I was asking because I said I saw a couple of videos before of like I don't know, motion graphics, and they said lights behind glass. And I'm like, oh my God, that looks identical to every star I've ever looked at or zoomed in on. It appears lights behind glass or like a frosted glass almost look identical to what we're getting with stars. But a few seconds ago, you said something about pulsating orbs. And I was just wondering, from a biblical perspective or from your idea, do you put the stars behind the dome or on the inside?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I think it does lead me to believe that they're embedded in the firmament, but it could be layered.
Good.
So if embedded within it, it could still be having to pulsate through the actual lower layer that could be glass-like.
Yeah, and I always like to compare. I mean, people think telescopes and microscopes are so different, and they're not. They're just the combination of various lenses. But it just fascinates me that we can look at a leaf and nobody's telling you that there's trillions of miles in there. And, oh, look at the dots that we see inside this leaf are trillions of miles. No, we're smart enough to realize you're looking at the leaf. And yet when we look at the sky, all of a sudden you've invented trillions of miles when it could be the exact same. It's just like you're just getting closer and closer to the embedded lights in the firmament.
Yep. Hey guys,
I agree.
We seem to have lost the Rockfin stream. God, I do not know why this happens, or what's going on with it, but I saw that they said it was buffering again. So anyway, it's about time to end the YouTube stream. So I guess what I'm going to do is start a new Rockfin stream, and then the Rockfin subscribers can join us over there. And guys, I apologize for that. I don't know what happened, but we will definitely continue back over there in just a few minutes. So
okay, and I'll be 5 minutes, Bob, real quick. Miss is calling me. Be right back.
Okay, that sounds good. So guys, on the YouTube side, consider joining us on Rockfin, as if we can keep it up and running.
I see Rockfin still going when I go to your channel.
Are you sure, or is it playing the playback?
Yes. Well, no, someone in chat says it's back too. Okay,
oh, really?
Now. Julie says it's okay now. It's back. Refresh. It's back. Okay. You're good.
Okay,
you're still on Rockfin.
Let me hit the live button. Okay. All right. Well, if it's back, that's cool. Sorry, guys, on Rockfin. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what? If you refresh Julie on Rockfin, it tends to start from the very beginning. So let me actually verify that Rockfin. No, it is not live on Rockfin. It's down.
Is it? Because
yes.
I'm watching it.
I know, because you refreshed and you hit it. But if you go and you hit the live button, the live button is grayed out. And yeah, we are definitely not live. So, all right, guys.
Well, I don't know. I just turned up the sound and I hear us talking.
Really? You hear us talking right now?
Yeah.
This is freaking insane, because it's telling me that it has ended and I've got an error code.
Says it's live and hearing every word.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, whatever. Making me crazy. All right, guys. Well, regardless, it's time to end the YouTube stream anyway. And I apologize for this. We'll get it straightened out. I will make sure that we are live for everybody. But again, if you are not a Rockfin subscriber, please join us on Wednesday for the Wednesday show. And we will send you that. Now, okay, so Zach is telling me that Rockfin is up. So excellent. Okay, so guys on YouTube, thanks for joining us, and we will see you on Wednesday. Have a good one. Peace. Okay.